Good day, everyone. Krista here to give a testimony and some bullet points on how people get in. How do people astral project and attack us? What are the everyday items used to gain access into a house so they can astral project? So I'll first start off with my testimony. I was attacked by a high-level sorcerer. I don't consciously know this person. Is this person from my past, or is their bloodline, their family connected to me? Could be. I believe if you are a survivor of SRA, MK, the New Age, witchcraft, then a lot of people that cross our paths that seem like it might be stalking or some other thing. It usually there's usually some connection. And that's not in all cases. Some people are just paid actors. Um, but in my case, I did some research on the person who left their company information on my doorknob. And this person is from the Castaneda bloodline. And now I don't know how, if for those of you who are younger, a lot of people probably don't know this author. He has passed away. I think he was born in the 50s or 40s. His books were popular when I was a kid in the 70s. I didn't really start reading them until probably the 80s or 90s, early 90s even, after his books had been out a while. His name was Carlos Castaneda. He was an American. I've never seen a photo of him, but I think he was like a Caucasian guy who got involved in Mexican sorcery. And he met a man named Don Juan who taught him all this sorcery down in Mexico. And so that individual who actually was like a PhD, I believe, out of UCLA and did dissertation on some of this stuff, became a high-level sorcerer. And I foolishly read some of the books because that was, those books were in a family bookcase and they were there, and I didn't grow up as a Christian. And so I foolishly read those books. And I got attacked by someone with that name Castaneda. And I didn't understand um, the nature of the attack right away. It started in the morning when I found it on the doorknob, and the day was heavy, and I couldn't get to the core of it for until near the end of the day. Um, and that's witchcraft, right? Sometimes we just don't understand where things are coming from. We have to pray really hard to understand it. Well, how these people ask to project in is they leave something for you. And even if that thing is a little placard that hangs on a doorknob, it's just a laminated piece of paper, they could put that thing on their altar and speak, life and death are in the power of the tongue, right? They speak all these curses over it and do whatever on the altar. Maybe they, sacrifice an animal or something on that altar and then put that on the doorknob with their DNA. You bring that in. I brought it into my house. I immediately walked it back out to the trash can within less than 1 minute, but it had already been touched by me and brought in. Okay, so I didn't think anything of it right away. I immediately threw it in the trash can. But then another person came and they left some packages, and it looked like that person left some saliva, like maybe a little bit of spit on my doorstep. So another person was using an access or an entry point at my door to project. And then there was a third person who took my trash can in, which is really, I don't even know who it was. But it seemed like a nice gesture. But anyway, so the main person, the main point of contact was this man, the business. They even changed their business name, like to say Dan L, like Danel, like almost like the tribe of Dan El, like for the name like God, because God has all these names that end in El, um, or begin with El. Elohim, Elyon. You could even look at the name like Elon. Okay. That is Yeah, that's tied to the word God. So anyway, that person, when I looked them up, the company up on online, I found that the person's name was actually Daniel, but they call the business Danielle. So they kind of want to hide behind a name. If you go to the website, there is no information on the person's first and last name. So you have to go on these company sites to find out who is the owner of this company. And initially, I thought I was reading into it too much. And I took the video down that I initially made about this. But then when I did more digging this morning, I found out that it was in fact a high level sorcerer, and it was possibly this bloodline, the Castaneda bloodline, since he shares the same last name. So these people use everyday objects. They can use DNA, their own DNA, like their hair, their blood, their saliva. If they left a little bit of like urine underneath the toilet seat, like things that you wouldn't, if you don't, clean right away, it's there. Though that bit of DNA enables them to project in. The other things that enable someone to project into your house are gifts, food. Um, if you bought something secondhand and it could have been a curse, we don't know. But I want to also say that not all brand new items are clean, also. We really need to pray over them because we don't know who's stocking shelves and who's putting things online and who's not, if they're not, if they are speaking over those new items. So we can't make an assumption that everything, just because it's brand new, wasn't cursed by a staff member. We need to pray over everything we bring into the house and break any attachments and curses. So that's that. Those are the main points. Gifts, food, accursed items, and then little things that people leave behind, like a business card, um, or it could be a business card. It could be, a piece of paper, a flyer. It could be something really simple. Oh, and then your packages, like with Amazon, other packages, I always try to take the items out of the package and throw the packaging away quickly because I don't know if people are speaking over that. I know that's going a little too far, but because of the witchcraft attacks I've experienced, I'm just taking a little extra precaution. But that's it. That's how people project into your home or through personal items and DNA. And why they would go into to attack a person, to control a person, or to try to summon a person on their altar to steal something from that person at a soul level, gifts, virtues, glory, star, destiny. It could be an attempt to do an evil exchange. If you've heard of that before, giving a person, taking something that's really like good that person has, and giving that person like a demon or something in exchange. Evil exchanges are quite common. That's why when we wake up, we want to, be sure and cancel every evil dream and agreement with devils, even if we can't recall our dreams, because the enemy only comes to kill, steal, and destroy, and everyone working for the enemy's kingdom who's being used by the enemy, they operate the same way: kill, steal, and destroy. So they want to steal things, virtues, glory, stars, destinies, because they're not going to the true source, they're not going to Creator, they're not going to the Most High God. So that's how they operate. That's why we want to be prayed up really well before we go to sleep. But someone can even ask to project when we're awake, right? Your atmosphere suddenly shifts in your house. You're like, what is this? Um, pray, Psalm 91, the angels give in charge of us and bind and rebuke those the evil atmosphere and the demons maybe being sent your way, and just command them out. Um, because astral projection can happen at any time of the day. That's my point. Is I think this person had access during the day, and yeah, and then praise God, it broke, and nothing's too hard. Oh, the other thing is mirrors. Somebody mentioned this, and I want to bring it up. Mirrors are a great point of entry for astral projection, and I had some witches that live next door to me in a previous residence who they look like they were crystal meth heads with like missing teeth and whatnot. But they they asked to project it through my mirror. I'm pretty confident. Once I covered my mirrors with fabric in the bathroom, because those are the only places I had mirrors in that place, then the projection went down drastically. But it's not practical, obviously, to cover your mirror 24/7 and rarely look in your mirror. It's kind of a pain, every time you want to brush your teeth, floss, or whatever. Um, but the mirrors are a really big one. And we want to anoint our mirrors regularly, clean them regularly, and anoint them with olive oil or even like a little bit of grape juice. Plead the blood on them and pray to close all portals in the mirrors and pray to close any other portal that could be used in the house that we're unaware of. And then also ask God to show me what gifts or what item I have in my house that I don't know about that's creating an access point or creating some level of attack, and God will show you. Um, your odds of getting a clear answer, your best bet is through fasting. But if that's not possible, just keep asking. He'll tell you, right? The word says like that persistent widow. She kept asking that judge, the unrighteous judge, and he gave that persistent widow what she wanted. Like, how much more will the Father give you, who's a righteous judge? Amen. So I hope this helped you. If you have any comments, I'd love to hear your testimony or story about how you were able to deal with astral projection attacks. And yeah, thanks for listening. God bless.